Hello and welcome everyone to this week's episode. I am joined by a very special guest today, the gorgeous Alison. So welcome to Alison. I'm very, very excited for this conversation because we do have such synchronicities, and I think we share some views around systems and having a little bit of structure in our lives. So I can't wait to dive into this discussion with you. But Alison, can I hand over to you to formally introduce yourself to our wonderful listeners?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So I am a systems strategist and yoga teacher who works with entrepreneurs, CEOs, as well as yoga teachers and fitness instructors within the wellness industry to really look at how to build a business that supports your nervous system. So I bridge my work between, soul and philosophy and breath, meditation, combined with systems and workflows and daily rhythms that as an entrepreneur, we need in our lives and in our businesses.
Absolutely. And I absolutely adore these two things because it's so important, but also I love that bridge. Like a lot of the work that I do is like the spirituality, but then the science.
Yeah.
And having the two is so powerful. What was it that made you realize, because it's such a beautiful combination, like the yoga instructor, like with the strategy side, like what was it that made you realize that was kind of a missing piece in traditional business kind of culture?
Yeah, so it was kind of the combination of the two worlds of my life coming together. So for years, I've supported entrepreneurs and CEOs creating systems, supporting the back end, helping them run their business so that they could take time off, all of those things. And then on the other side, I was teaching yoga and traveling the world and training teachers. And I had always been told that they couldn't go together. Like it was always, from a marketing standpoint, was to pick your lane and stay in it. And it's like, no, there has to be a connection. And it took me a while to figure it out. But I think the experience of watching entrepreneurs, and I think as an entrepreneur, we get classified in this place of like, it's just expected of you to work 60 plus hours a week in your business. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think it does not need to be that way. I think the challenge is one that we're so not taking care of our nervous systems. We're so wanting to succeed that we bend over backwards and say yes to everything and don't say no when we need to. And we don't build those blocks in that come with a regular 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is like the signal to people, other than like the hours that you're working, which obviously we can measure that and we can go, oh, hey, like I'm working way too many hours. Like, are there any other like signals that you noticed for you or for your clients where it was like, hey, you're not really nurturing yourself and you're becoming like a machine? Was there anything for you that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of the first part of it is learning to understand who you are and how you work best, which we don't always know until we do something that we don't want to do, like boundaries. We don't always know we need them until we've crossed them. But part of that, I think, is what are you avoiding? So I would say entrepreneurs, 99% of the time, they avoid admin work. They avoid their accounting. They avoid all the stuff that they hate doing. But those are the things that have to happen. And usually that's where I begin, is like, how do we create systems to even block out the time in your calendar to do the stuff that you hate doing? Because it has to be done. I've met entrepreneurs who are like, yeah, I don't do my invoicing. I'm like, well, how do you operate? You need to do your invoicing. So what's happening and why is that not happening?
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? And the other lovely thing that I love, and I can say this as an entrepreneur, we do this, we avoid those things, but also we won't let go of the control to delegate them to somebody else.
Yes, 100%.
Why do we do that? Where is that come from?
I've noticed that, like, it doesn't even matter if you're an entrepreneur or a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. There's this fear of letting go of things. And I don't know, I think it depends on the individual a little bit. It's whether or not, it's that mentality that's just easier to do it myself. instead of training somebody. But the problem is it's not happening. So even though it's easier to do it yourself, it's still not happening. So something needs to shift, right? And then there's this little, I think especially with entrepreneurs, it's like, it's my baby. I don't want to trust anyone else with making this happen, or they're not going to do it the way that I would do it. But the reality is, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to grow your business, at some point, you need to either implement systems or hire someone. It's the only way you're going to grow.
Yeah, it's inevitable, isn't it? And I think that sometimes that is like almost like a sabotage to keep you where you're at. Yeah. Rather than actually allowing your business to grow and expand into the beautiful creation that it's meant to be. I think we can hide behind that, like, oh well, it'll just have to stay how it is. But yeah, I completely get it.
I've had a couple entrepreneur friends who have hired employees recently, and their first employees, and it's scary, right? Because you are then become responsible for somebody else's livelihood. So I can see the reluctance in doing that. It's like this fear of, well, now it's not just me, it's now I have to take care of somebody else. And I think this is the great part about systems, is designing things that work for how you work, so that you can spend more time doing what you actually do, what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of our listeners will completely resonate with that. And something that I think is really lovely that you spoke about when you applied to be on the podcast is like a business that breathes, which I just love. Like that just feels so like delicious and lovely. Like what does that feel like for you, like in your body, in your daily life, having a business that breathes?
Yeah, I think it's tied to the idea of freedom. Like I think a lot of entrepreneurs build a business because they want freedom, but yet they haven't created that. They are working 60 plus hours a week. They are not doing the things that they need to do. And this is where systems really come in handy. So one, I look at it and go, okay, what are my natural patterns for doing things? So I tend to be very introverted, and by the end of the day, I don't want to take meetings. I'm done. I'm good. I don't need to have meetings late in the day. So I design my schedule that is a boundary that I create. Like if you want to have a meeting with me, these are the times that I'm available, and these are the days that I'm available. And it's scary to start, right? To start to implement those boundaries that work for your nervous system and then how you work best, because we also don't want to say no when somebody is like, I want to work with you, but I can only do this time. It's like, how do we find that balance of like, yes, I want that job or that money or whatever it is, but still honor who I am?
Yeah, for sure. And for those people that are, so unaware of what that looks like for them, how, other than trying it and testing it, how do you figure out what your boundaries actually are?
When I start working with a new client, my first questions are, what is most important to you? And why did you create this business in the first place? And I think there's this, again, it always comes to that. I want freedom. But what does freedom mean to you? Like, what does that actually look like? Yeah. Because if we can't define what freedom means, it's very hard to build that or create that if you don't actually know what that means. Yeah. 90% of the time it's money freedom and time freedom. Yeah. But the reality is that there's still things that have to be done. Like you have to work in your business with your clients or whatever the job is that you do. You have to work on your business. So grow it, find new clients, do marketing, do all of these things that have to happen. So what would it be like to design your schedule so that those things happen when you're in that right mindset? Yeah. And to me, that's where the freedom comes from. It's like, I know Fridays, I don't take any meetings. I have a day to work in my business. I work on my marketing for the next 2 weeks. I get up late. I, have a coffee. I go for a long dog walk. It's like I built that structure in so that I have the space and time during the day to do the things that have to be done, but without constraints or pressure of like, I got to work 12 hours today. Yeah.
For sure. So important. And how did you like, because obviously you've brought like yoga philosophy and these
Mhm.
like systems and strategies together. Like how did those two worlds first come together for you?
When I took my yoga teacher training, 17 years ago, it impacted me a lot in the sense of it kind of gave me permission to be fully me, if that makes any
Mm,
sense. And it
absolutely.
was this permission that, how you show up and how you work best is completely fine. But the world isn't necessarily designed to meet how each of us work. Like
Yeah.
the world is designed to output. And that doesn't always necessarily work for everyone. So I looked at, how can I take yoga philosophy? So in yoga philosophy, we have the yamas, which are these ethical principles. The first one is, I'll just give them to you in English, is non-harming.
Mhm.
Then we have truthfulness. Then we have non-stealing, moderation, and non-attachment. So it's like, how
Mm.
can I take these philosophies and look at how I design my life and my schedule and my business? Is, taking a meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that just creates anxiety. To me, that's harmful.
Yeah.
And I need to put a boundary there because that doesn't work for me. Right.
Yeah.
And then even so, when we look at moderation, it's like moderation of our energy. How do we, design what works best? So if you are very creative in the morning, how do we design your schedule so that you're doing those creative tasks at the time that works best for your brain?
Mm. Yeah, for sure. And I love that blend because it almost brings like the relaxation feel into what is ultimately building your structure and your routine,
Yeah.
which I love. I love that. So if we're looking at like the one of the main philosophies that I think a lot of business owners do have is we believe that when we do more,
Mm.
we're either going to have more success, we're going to achieve more, or for a lot of people, especially a lot of our listeners who are more in the spiritual or holistic and wellness arenas, is they'll be more valuable
Yeah.
as well. So how do we kind of almost unlearn that idea that doing more means that we're more valuable or we're going to have more success?
Yeah. We've been trained really well, right?
Yeah. It's
It's like,
scary.
it is. And when we start to take a step back and go, okay, this is what, the world wants me to be. But, for me, it was like I was always trying to fit myself into a picture that didn't work for me.
Mhm.
Working 40 hours a week, doing all of those things in a corporate job, it just was not for me. And so when I designed my business, I was like, I don't the reason I'm designing it is to not live in those patterns that I'm told that I have to fit in.
Yeah.
And I think there's this little bit of, so I like taking the yamas, so that first limb of yoga and going, okay, when I look at everything or the decisions I make, can I look at it through that lens? Is this actually hurtful to me? Is
Mm.
this something that I actually want to do? Like, let's speak the truth here. Is this something I actually want to do, or do I feel like I need to do that? I mean, I think with entrepreneurs, there's this line of, cash is king, that there comes a point when, yes, you're going to have to do things because you legitimately need the cash. Like,
Yeah.
living in today's world, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But how do you start to build your business so that there is a little bit more moderation in the things that you need to do in order to bring in cash?
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. And for a lot of us, like I think it can be almost a challenge at times because we're ambitious, we're driven,
Mhm.
but how can we tell the difference between just being ambitious and driven and like really determined to achieve our goals? And especially, when we are thinking like monetary wise and actually taking our bodies and our nervous systems into like overdrive. How
Yeah.
can we differentiate between the two?
To me, it's looking at how you feel at the end of every day. And then
Mm,
Sundays are a great check-in. Sundays, how do I feel Sunday
yeah.
knowing that tomorrow is Monday? Or did you even have a Sunday?
Mm,
right? Is like, how do I feel at the end of the day? I think there's this element of choice. Like some days I will choose to work a 12-hour day because I want to take 3 days off next week, or I want to do those things. So there's this element of choice. But if at the end of the day, I'm exhausted and I'm stressed out about what's on my plate for tomorrow, if, Sunday rolls around and I either didn't take the weekend off at all, or I'm regretting what's going to happen the next day before it even happens, I think that's a really good sign that your nervous system is in fight or flight. It's in this constant state of reactivity. And how do we balance that out and bring in more of the parasympathetic nervous system, this rest and digest, this, let's say, even kiltered process of where we land, that there is not this big reaction to things. So I personally don't work from a reactive point. So even if clients want something like now, my question is like, why? Right? Somebody else's urgency isn't mine. It doesn't have to be. or their lack of doing things in a timely manner is not my urgency. That's theirs. And the world, we've been trained to automatically respond, to be on things all of the time. But, maybe I'm just aging myself. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't act like that. There was no urgency and we were okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for like those of us that are in like the coaching space or whatever, it almost, you can disempower your client by doing that, because you're then, you can almost become a crutch.
Yeah.
And that's not going to serve them long term either. So actually the boundaries for both of you, it's like a mutual thing to protect both of you.
Yeah. And I think, really acknowledging how you feel in your body and then noticing your breath. Like, am I even breathing, or am I really pissed off that they emailed me at 5:00 on a Friday and want this thing done?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I have a choice. I have the choice to say yes or no. I have the choice to not respond. Sorry, I'm done at 5:00. I didn't see your message till Monday. Like, we have that choice.
Yeah.
And in my experience, if it is a client like that is always pushing boundaries or, aggravating your nervous system, they're not worth the cash.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not aligned to who you are and what you're looking for sure. Something that I loved as well, I think this will help a lot of people who are a bit more, let's say, like structure avoidant. But no, structure is like, it's too limiting. I like just really like turned off by the idea. But you mentioned how it can be like a form of self-care.
Yeah.
Which I think for a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, self-care I can do. Like, how do you like view it from that angle of that it is a self-care process?
Everything we do in life is built on routines and systems. Everything. So even the world, I mean, right now it's fall where I am, so the leaves are falling. We're falling into this cycle of dormancy, and spring comes and there's a rebirth. That's a cycle. That's a system that nature follows. Everything is built on systems. Absolutely everything. And even if we are avoidant of them, there are things you do in your life that are already systems. The challenge is embracing new ones is uncomfortable. We don't like to do things that are uncomfortable, so we avoid them.
Yep.
But it's like starting a new fitness routine, or January 1st, we have New Year's resolutions. We're always going to start. But the thing is, why pick a day when you're going to start? Just start.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with this is, how do I know I need to do my accounting, or I know I need to do this and I hate it. How do I start to create some routine around it? Like maybe you make it a celebration. So I used to do, I'm not a big fan of accounting either, but I used to always be like, okay, year-end accounting is the worst when you have to do your taxes. But it'd be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to open a bottle of wine and I'm going to get through this. I'm going to put on some good music and I'm going to do the thing because I have to do the thing. Right? It's like, how do we make it a little bit more enjoyable, even when it's something that we hate doing?
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I like to like make things into a ritual if I can as
Yeah.
well. Like when you're doing like your quarterly reviews, like turn it into a ritual. And yeah, celebration. I love
Yeah.
that. Because then you're getting the thing done.
Yeah. And
And
like,
we can
and
celebrate
literally,
that.
totally, literally celebrate when that's done, right? It's like
Yeah.
even paying my taxes. So this year, you know, I never want to give the government my money. I'd rather keep it, but that's not the way the world works. But I was like, how can I reframe that to
Mm.
make this an act of like, yes, my business is that successful that I have the money in the bank to pay them. Like, how cool is that? Like, yes, I'd rather keep it, but that's not the way it works. I have to pay my taxes. So how can I find a little bit of celebration and change the narrative around the stuff that I don't want to do or the stuff that I don't think I should have to do or don't like doing? Because whether it's your business or your life, we're faced with those things in all different ways. There's always stuff we don't want to do, stuff we don't want to deal with, but we still have to do them. And I think the challenges in business is we avoid it, and inevitably, because there's no one holding us accountable except for ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with that as well, it can sometimes show us where we've got like these limiting beliefs and narratives. And for me, you know, this was a huge one for a while, and it would keep me small because I was like, well, I don't want to have to give that away to somebody else. And then as soon as I reframed it, I was like, you know what, it's overflow. And it means I get to contribute to people who aren't able to work, or I contribute to the roads or whatever it is, you know, the public services, whatever it's going to.
Yeah.
And that's, how amazing is that? That we get to do that. So yeah, it's reframing it. It can make it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, a little bit.
Enjoyable is probably a bit much of a strong word.
I'm trying, right? And I think, you know, we all have our own beliefs around money and what that is, and a lot of triggers around money. So I think there's this element of that too. But you know, as entrepreneurs, we take so much on that, you know, do you even take a vacation? Do you even take time off? Do you even take the weekends off? You know, you designed your business to have freedom, and yet you're not free.
Yeah. I know it's ironic, isn't it? And we see it all the time, as I'm sure you do too. And for those listeners who are kind of like the opposite way, and they love the structure and they love the systems, because it gives them the control, or at least perceived control. For those people, how can they flip it so that the systems are just creating safety rather than control?
Yeah. Safety in what way do you mean? Do you mean like
in your body and like in your nerve?
I think one, there's this element of software creates some safety, is like, you know, we can create and streamline things and create automations that happen for us that we don't even have to think about it. And how cool is that? Is that I can literally allow my system to do the work for me, to take things off of my plate so that I can focus on what I actually love doing. And you know, for me, it always comes back to like, can I take that moment to pause and go, you know, what's happening in my body? What's happening in my breath? Like, what are these little signals? You know, where do I feel tension? Am I able to take a deep breath? You know, is my mind even here in the present moment?
Often not.
No. You know, am I on a call with a client and you know, there's things that are great. Like we have, you know, these transcribing things that we can be in a meeting and not even have to pay attention because it can transcribe everything that was said for you. But yet I think there's this element of noticing if you're relying on these systems to be less present when actually they can allow you to be more present, because I can listen. And if something was missed or I don't remember quite what was said, I have that transcription that I can go back to.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, how do we allow systems to let us be more present in our life, in our business, in the day-to-day moments? And I think that's the beauty of what they create.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw this on my retreat just last week. So we were doing like a new moon circle and like setting our intentions for the start of the retreat. And it was like finding that line, because obviously we were in person at this, so there wasn't any AI or anything that was transcribing. And it was finding that beautiful balance of taking notes on things that I was talking about the moon, and ways in which they can utilize it, but also being present in the energies of making the new connections in the room. And it was so beautiful, because people would just like jot down a few things in their journals, but everyone was really in the space.
Yeah.
And that was so lovely. And I think the technology and the systems can enhance that even further, which is gorgeous, and actually create the freedom that we want.
Yeah, and give you the space to go on a retreat because your systems are working for you. Right?
Exactly. Before I went, everything was automated. You wouldn't even know that I wasn't here.
That's right. That's right. And that's the beautiful part of it, is like, I helped an entrepreneur. So when she had hired me, she had just found out she was pregnant, and she wanted to take time off from her business, but was like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
How do I do that and pay people and still have a maternity leave without having to be fully present? And I think that's the most challenging part if you're an entrepreneur. But if we create systems that give us the space to be fully present in our lives, because life happens, right? I mean, my mother-in-law passed away 3 years ago. But the way I designed my business, I was able to literally pick it up, move it to where we needed to be, and not be constantly in it every day, so that I could be present with family. And, I did check in every once in a while, but there was still this element of like, how do I create the structure to actually give me the freedom that I need, but still allow the money to come in?
Yeah. I love that. And I think that'll be something that resonates with a lot of listeners. It's something that I've been thinking about as well. We got married earlier this year. We're thinking like, when, if maybe we start a family. And I'm like, what do I do with the business? Like, how do you then like redesign that and set it up? So what would you say would be like the first steps for people who are like, I want it to run without me if it has to? What's the first thing that you would say for those people to look at?
I mean, it definitely depends on what the business is and what you're executing. But it's like, how do we replicate you? Whether that's training somebody to do what you do, whether it's, creating some sort of online course or whatever it might be to replicate what it's like to work with you. I think that's the challenge with entrepreneurs, is that it's all me based. It's not like it's not somebody else can't be me, right?
Yeah.
So as how do I create those things that replicate who I am, so I have to be less in it?
Yeah, for sure. And that's, again, the beautiful thing that technology can help us with, which is amazing. And I love. Do you ever find that with like the, obviously bringing in like the yoga and the nervous system regulation, do you ever find that can either positively or negatively like impact on creativity or on leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think being in fight or flight constantly affects our creativity. We have no space to pause, and it's within the pause that we become more creative. Like, we used to be bored.
Yeah.
Right. We used to be bored.
Like?
And it's odd. And it's like, or even this element of, choosing to do nothing, like literally doing nothing, no plans, no nothing, and feeling this part of like, well, I should be doing something, right? But what happens when you take the time to pause, or go for a 3-hour walk, or just be a tourist in your own city, or, listen to people? I think that's where the creativity comes in, is in the pause and not the chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's ironic again, isn't it, that we are constantly doing, and we're like, I don't know why like this isn't working, or why I'm not getting ideas, or why I can't find the solution. It's like, because you're not giving yourself any space for the solution to come in.
Yeah. And I think of it as like, it's almost like meditation. So when most of us, when we were young, we had hobbies, especially if you were born pre-technology, you had hobbies. So you had all these things that you did. Yeah. You had all these things that you would do, and you would be either so consumed in it that the day just, disappeared. right? But you were creative. Like we literally did arts and crafts. We had our hands in things. We designed things or did things. But I think there's so much constant stimulation that we don't have to be creative. Like everyone else on the internet is creative for us. So I don't have to do anything. I can just, take someone else's idea. But what happens when you pause and you perhaps pick up something you love, a book, or go for a walk or be in nature without technology? I think that's the big part of it. Is like without the technology is tapping into your own intuition to get those answers, to find those creative things that you want to do or create.
Yeah, so important. It's something that I've been seeing a lot, and it's insightful, but also it frightens me. So as someone who is, incredibly psychic, and I help my clients with connecting to their intuition, I'm seeing a lot of people that are like asking AI, like ChatGPT or whatever, like, tell me my thoughts, and like using that for their intuition. I'm like, that's not your intuition. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a computer.
Yeah.
And it's like they'll take something like, oh, I'm gonna ask like AI like to interpret this for me, like, and tell me what my guides would say. And I'm like, but that I call it chatty man. That chatty man isn't connected to your spirit guides. So that's not gonna correlate. And it's frightening in a way, because then we're shutting down and we think that we're exploring it in a different way. I'm like, but you're switching off from your own channel.
Yeah, I mean, technology moves so fast that, we can't even keep up with it. And I think something with like AI is that we've never, unless you're a kid, and I don't know this, but I would assume kids are being taught AI in some format in school now. I mean, at least I hope they are. But as an adult, you're literally just given this tool of ChatGPT and using it however you think you're supposed to use it, but that's not actually how you're supposed to use it. So it's like we rely on so many external things, but if we actually take the moment to pause and tap in, we know what is right for us in any moment. It's how do we get rid of all the clutter? How do we create the space in our days and our lives? And I think systems is a big part of that, to tune into what is right for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And using these things appropriately, like creating a lovely transcript of an audio like this. Yeah. Brilliant. That's what it's for. Yeah.
Great. Or a task list, this is the conversation we had. Can you tell me all the to-dos that were said? Right? Like, great way to create a system to streamline your business using AI. But not losing your autonomy and losing your own voice and all of these parts that can happen so easily. I mean, it makes it easier. We don't have to think. Yeah. I can ask it anything and it's going to tell me, but
it's terrifying. Use your own mind, connect to your own spirit team, please.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. One thing that I did really want to ask you, and especially for those of our listeners that are very much in the hustle, that we almost get sold the hustle culture, I think, as well, that it's great, like hustle harder. And I'm going, please make it stop.
Yes.
But for those that are in that kind of hustle space, like, what would you say is like just one really small shift that they can make to start to kind of come out of that hustle kind of mode and start to lead from their body and from a place of more safety?
Yeah, my simplest thing would be to take a day off.
I love that. Just please have a day off.
Just take a day off from everything. Like, no plans. Try to stay away from a device, any electronic device, television, cell phones, computer. Just take a day to be fully present. And your nervous system, if you are in a hustle mode, is probably going to be really triggered. Because you have to do all of these things that your brain is telling you that you need to be. And in order to come out of fight or flight, we literally need to pause. So take a break, like sleep in, get up, have a lovely coffee, go about your day and see pretend cell phones don't exist,
Just Dreamy.
Yes. And I think
love
it's like,
that.
it doesn't even, if one day feels triggering, is like, how do I take the morning off or the afternoon off? And I usually tell people, like, Friday afternoons are great. Like, if you want to work Fridays, work till noon, and then that's it. Like, sign off. Nobody wants meetings on Friday afternoon. Nobody. So you're good. Like, allow that to be your time. And then as that becomes more comfortable, maybe you take all of Friday, and Friday is a you day to do those creative things, those things that you love, or things that you need to do in order to recharge.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And I always say, you know, people that are going to be like most triggered by that are the people that really, really need it.
Yes. Yes.
It's like taking a time off.
Yeah.
That
Well,
means
and that's the thing, is like, you don't have to do it, but you can if you really want to.
Yeah. And it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Let us know if you do it. Awesome. Thank you for that. I've got, as you know, every guest asks a question for another guest.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab the one for you. So, ooh, I like this. So, what is your big, scary dream that you don't necessarily share with others? And do you think you could allow yourself to start making it happen?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm.
It's very funny because I went to a networking event last week, and this is everything that they were talking about, is big, scary dreams.
No coincidence.
No, right? There never is.
No.
I have always been a dreamer, which I am totally fine with, but I am also an implementer. I think that's because I am a systems person. It's like, how do I make this happen? So my husband and I's big dream is to buy a boat and live on the boat and travel around the world. So that is our dream. We don't have a timeline necessarily, but I'm in the process of building my business to get him out of his job, so that we can take that first step to getting there. So to me, the systems brain is like, okay, what are all the things that need to happen in order to get there? So yeah, that's definitely in action slowly.
I love that. Oh, I can totally see it as well. That's gorgeous. Love it. I love it. Amazing. So we will obviously share all your amazing details in the show notes, but if people want to connect with you and tap into your world, where do you hang out? Where can they find you?
You can mostly find me on Instagram at Reaume Alison. So that's REAUME, Alison with one L. That's where I spend most of my time online anyways.
Yeah. When you're not unplugged and having beautiful days of
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letting things automate in the background.
Yes.
Amazing. I love it. Well, thank you so, so much. As I anticipated, this has been a very, very insightful conversation, and I know our listeners will get a lot from this as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and advice with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And for our gorgeous listeners, we will see you on the next episode. So make sure you share in the comments what you take away from today, and we will see you soon.